Hi, this is Carrie, and we're going to do a screen tutorial on what is this thing called roaming around the known. Specifically, we're going to look at what's the purpose for these first two sessions that you're going to do with your student. How do you plan that roaming session? And then what are some possible activities and or resources for that planning work? So when you're doing roaming around the known, I want you to keep the purposes in mind. First, you really are working with the child those first two visits to build a good working relationship. So, you want to have opportunities to have a little bit of conversation with that student, get to know them a little bit. You want to give them specific praise. So, good job is somewhat reinforcing, but telling a student, I really like the way you're holding the pencil. I'm really impressed by how those words just seem to pop into your mind while you're reading that book. Specific praise helps kids understand what it is that you value and be encouraging. Those first couple of interactions will really set the ground for your further work together. So as much as possible, you want to encourage that child to take risks and engage with you in these learning activities. Beyond building a relationship, you also want to provide opportunities to maximize student participation. So you want to show that student from the very start that your work with them is going to be about them um, doing literacy work. So build on their interests. Try to find things that they're interested in doing or topics that they're interested in reading and writing about. Use texts that they can read so that the work is easy and they can enjoy those first opportunities to work with you. Have accessible activities, so things that are maybe just a little bit easy for that student. Also, you want to provide opportunities for you to observe what that child knows, half knows, and needs to learn. So we're getting to know the kiddo, establishing a good positive relationship, and also letting you see some things that will help you determine which assessments you're going to give. So a roaming session is going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. So that's about the amount of time that we're going to spend doing instruction. We're not going to be teaching kids any longer than 40 minutes because when you're working on targets that the student actually needs, that's hard work. So you don't want to do heavy lifting for more than 20 minutes for real young kids, 30 to 40 minutes for kids in first, second, third grade, etc. I would say before you do a roaming session, the thing that's going to help you do the plan for the roaming session is going to be talking to your cooperating teacher. And that could be, maybe you email that teacher and you ask if you can call them on the phone to talk about the student. Or maybe you go early or go on a different day just to talk about the student before you actually do your roaming session. So it's up to you how you plan this, but even if it's just, can I send you an email with some questions about the student? You want to try to know something about that kiddo so that you can use that information in creating those first roaming sessions. So ask the teacher what they know about the student's interests. Ask them what their text reading level is. If you know that the child's text reading level is G, then you might want to find some level E and F books so that you'll know they'll be simple and accessible. What does the child know about things like alphabet, phonics, sight words, concepts about print? You might also ask the teacher what they're currently focused on in literacy instruction. So what are the books that they're reading? Or maybe even what are they focused on in their science or social studies? Not that you're going to be tutoring in those particular areas, but they might be something that the child is really interested in. And you could extend that interest in their reading work with you. So talking to the teacher is going to help you make a good roaming plan. And then you might want to consider possible activities and collect or create some materials. This is how to get started. I'm going to talk to you today about some possible activities, and I'm going to point you in the direction of where you can find some materials so you can start exploring those as you begin pulling together your plan for this roaming session. So let's talk about some possible activities. It's just going to be a 20, 30, or 40-minute interaction. These roaming sessions, you're going to do 2 of those to kind of get things going. And here are some things that you could choose to do. Now, I usually plan more than I can actually do in an interaction. So you'll have to kind of think how much time it would take you to do any of these particular activities. So here's some things you could do. You could have the student read an easy book. So a book in the classroom that the child's already read, maybe in their browsing box, or maybe a leveled book. And you can borrow leveled books. I have a collection of leveled books. Also in the basement of the library, there are leveled books that you could choose and take out as well. If you have a Westerville library card, the Westerville library has a section of books that are leveled, so you could also borrow books there. Having a child read is going to be a great opportunity for you to see what they can do. I would always encourage you to try to find a book that's going to be a little bit easy for them so that their first work with you is a display of competence. You could read a picture book to or with the student. So in the basement of the Otterbein Library, we have an entire children's book collection. And I would encourage you to get down there and borrow a title or 2 to take with you to the classroom. Something fun, funny, interactive that you would enjoy reading to or with them. Again, the Westerville Library is a great resource too for getting books. And as a student at Otterbein, you all qualify to get a library card. It's as quick as filling out a form online and then picking up the card the very next day at the library. You could invite the student to write about their favorite part of the story that they just read. So any kind of writing work, if you want them to draw you a picture and then write a little bit about that, that would be a nice way to get to know the student. And you could have some good conversation during that time. You could do a guided writing sentence based on the student's interests. So you could say something like, let's make a sentence about you. Marco likes to, and have them talk about the things that they like to do. And they could write about that as well. I will be putting this PowerPoint online so you can, if you're interested, see an example of what guided writing looks like. So for those of you who haven't had Education 2600 yet, and you're wondering, what does guided writing mean? Well, you could just watch this little video and it'll show you what that looks like. You could play a literacy game. So maybe if the teacher is telling you, oh, yeah, we're working on capital lowercase matching in class when you talk to her, well, you could make a little capital lowercase matching game. This is like a concentration game. Those cards are turned over. And so you're finding the capital D and the lowercase d and then matching them. And playing this game would also show you an awful lot about what the child knew about capital and lowercase match. If that's too hard, you could just have all capital letters and maybe just have blue letters and red letters, and you have to match the 2 capital D's. If that's too easy, you could do this same kind of concentration mapping game or matching game with sight words. So if the teacher tells you they're using a particular group of sight words, you could make a little game with that sight word work. Other easy games are things like bingo. This is a sight word bingo, but you can play this bingo with alphabet letters as well. Here is a dominoes game. It's just printed out dominoes, but the idea is you have a picture and then a letter, and then this domino has to match another picture. So it goes picture, letter, all the way through here. We have some literacy games in the basement of the Otterbein Library. And after we discuss in class, I will show you, I'll put some of my literacy games on a cart outside of my office, 445, with a sign-out sheet. And you guys can sign out materials that you'd like to try to use with your students for roaming sessions. Also on this PowerPoint, if you want to access the PowerPoint on Blackboard, it'll take you to a link where you can see some other options for games to make with students. So the idea is you want to have a few activities that you could execute in 20 to 30 minutes. You want them to be light and fun and easy for the students so that you can see what they know how to do and encourage them and build a positive working relationship. So here's an example. This is a little mini lesson plan that I made for a roaming session. So I'm working with a first grader who is working at Delay. So he's just learning how to do some things that other kids know how to do. And my plan is in this little 30-minute interaction, first I'm going to take that book, Ellsworth's Electric Ears, which has all those alliterative pages, and I'm going to read it to or with the student. I'm going to play like a little I Spy game. So after I read the page, I might say, do you see anything else that starts with and have them see which things they can see in the picture. That'll be fun. I won't do that on every page, maybe just some of the letters in his name, a few of them, right? And then I'm going to do a little sound sort with pictures, maybe pictures that have the D sound and the sound, and just do a little picture sort. I'm going to pull those pictures off of Google Images. And then I might have a little crafty kind of activity where I ask him to rainbow write his name, and I could sit right next to him and rainbow write my name. Maybe we could talk about some of the letters that we have in common in our names, that kind of thing. And then if we have time, I will play this letter, name, sound bingo. So I'll have a bingo card. I'll make him a bingo card. I've got some little, I don't have buttons, but I have got some little clear kind of like rocks that we'll play with. Anyway, and the way the bingo game goes is you're going to pull a card, and here's a lowercase k, and then if we have it, we can put a chip over our uppercase K. If this is too hard, I could just have whatever the target is here could be in my cards. So instead of matching lower and uppercase, I could just have all uppercase. If you flip over an uppercase A, you get to cover the uppercase K. If this is too easy, I could play the same game with more advanced sight words. Same thing. So this would probably take us about 30 minutes. I might not get through all of these things. That's okay, because my primary goal was to learn something about the student, which I'm going to be able to do, to encourage the student to participate, and to just have a positive interaction with them. So this should accomplish all of those goals. The next day, I could either finish whatever I didn't finish on the first roaming session, or I might go on and do something a little different. So I think I'm going to plan to have the child choose which book he wants to read. So there's two books that I know he's got in his browsing box. One is Where's Timmy? And then another one called Along Comes Jake. These are both level F texts. And I'm just going to put those two texts down and say, which one do you want to read to me? And then I'll have him read. And then afterwards, I might say, let's write about you. Kyle likes to, and this will just help me see what he can do with writing. And then he may choose to illustrate that. I'll grab some crayons and have him illustrate that to make a picture to go along with that writing. I could also do this game a second time. So it's not like you have to have new things every time. I think there's some utility to either having the same game and playing it twice because the child might like that game, or changing the game a little bit. So maybe if the last time we played this game, I just had capital letters and you matched the exact capital letter, then I might try the next time having some lowercase, uppercase matches to make the game a little bit more challenging. So it's up to you what you do. This is all you need to do in terms of a plan. Just kind of like know what you're going to do with that student. And then as you're having the interaction, have a blank sheet of paper around so you can take notes on the things that you notice. All right, just to remind yourself, keep in mind your purpose is to start building a productive relationship, get the child actually working with you, breaking the ice, and provide opportunities for you to observe what they know, what they half know, and what they need to learn. Make sure you're taking notes because that can really help you as you move forward into instruction. Thank you.